Welcome to the Nourish to Thrive podcast, faith-forward, science-backed strategies for women who want more energy, less weight, and real answers. I'm your host, Tanya Pennington-Miller, a functional nutritional therapy practitioner and functional blood chemistry specialist with a master's degree in applied clinical nutrition. If you're tired of feeling dismissed by your doctor, confused by your labs, and stuck in survival mode, you're in the right place. Here, we simplify the science. We get to the root, and we anchor it all in truth, because God made your body to heal and thrive, not just survive. It just needs the right kind of support and less noise. Hello, my friend. Welcome into the Nourish to Thrive podcast. I am so glad you're back with me today. I want to talk to the woman who is over 35 and has quietly thought to herself at some point, I swear this used to work. I could tighten up my food for a couple of weeks and the scale would respond. If I added a little extra cardio, I would lean out. If I skipped breakfast or stretched my fast, I would feel lighter. If I pushed harder in my workouts, I would feel stronger. Like there was a time when you could adjust something and your body would respond. And now you can do the same things and sometimes even more consistently than before. And the results are just not showing up in the same way. The scale is stalled. Your midsection feels more stubborn. Your sleep is not as deep. Recovery takes longer. Energy feels less predictable. And if you're honest, there's a part of you that wonders, like, is it me? Like, am I just not as disciplined or as motivated as I used to be? And that's the moment that I want to sit in today, because for most women in this season, it's not that you forgot how to do the work. It's that your body is responding differently than it did in your 20s and in your early 30s. And when you understand why that shift happens, you can finally stop blaming yourself for it, number one. And then you know where to focus instead of just, continuing to try and push harder and harder. So here's what's important. When something that used to work stops working, the assumption is generally that we need to try harder, we need to tighten up more, we need to push harder. And if you're like I was, I really thought that I had just lost motivation and that I had become lazy. But after going through this exact season myself and working with hundreds of women who are in this season, what I see is not a discipline issue. It's not a motivation issue. It's not a laziness problem. Okay. I'm going to tell you what it is that I see. I see a beaker, and I want you to stick with me on this. I want you to imagine your body like a glass container. Okay. And every stressor that you carry, work, sleep disruption, emotional strain, training, fasting, travel, responsibilities, even the good stressors, like maybe kids' sports, building a business, serving at church, like all of it pours into that beaker. And in your 20s, that beaker might have had plenty of room, okay, to even add more stressors like extended fasting, okay, because that is a stressor, like overtraining, like a calorie deficit. But stress is cumulative and it stacks up quietly. And over the years, that beaker just kind of keeps filling up. And it's okay as long as everything stays inside of this beaker. You might even be doing the exact same things that you've always done. Like nothing crazy has changed, but all of a sudden one day you add just one more layer. Okay, that might be a little bit less sleep, a little bit more fasting, one extra workout, and all of a sudden the beaker starts to spill over. That's when you find yourself saying, but I'm not doing anything differently. And you're right, you probably aren't. It's not because you suddenly have too much stress. It's because there's no longer space for more in your beaker. And when that beaker spills over, the body shifts into a protection mode. And this is when midsection weight starts to show up. This is when the scale starts to stall. And by the time we reach our mid-30s and our 40s, life usually does start to look a little different, right? Like sleep might not be as solid, stress is more layered. We have careers, family, aging parents, responsibilities, expectation. Even good growth adds demand to the nervous system. And the nervous system is what sets the tone for everything else. So when overall stress load increases, filling up the beaker even further, the body becomes more cautious about burning fuel freely, okay? It becomes more sensitive to things that previously felt manageable, like longer fasts, like adding in more cardio, like more restriction in your diet. Those same strategies that once felt effective are now starting to feel depleting instead. Hormones become more sensitive to stress, more sensitive to sleep and recovery in this season, okay? Cortisol has more influence now. Progesterone begins to decline. Sleep disruptions have a bigger ripple effect on insulin sensitivity and recovery. So the environment that your body is operating in has changed, which means that the same inputs are not going to produce the same outputs. And this is the part I really want you to hear. The strategy stopped working because your body can no longer interpret that level of stress as supportive. Less calories, more fasting, more cardio. It's adding to an already overfilled beaker. So in this season, those are not neutral inputs anymore. They're additional layers of demand on a system that may already be carrying more than it can. And when overall load is higher, the body doesn't respond by releasing more, okay? It actually responds by conserving. It doesn't feel fair. So instead of accelerating fat loss, it slows things down. It protects energy. It holds on. It's certainly not going to release body fat. So then if pushing harder is not the answer, then what is? This shift now is not about doing more. It's about asking a different question. So instead of how do I cut more or where else can I tighten up, you want to ask, is my body even in a place where it would let go of weight right now? Because if you're waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, or if you're running on caffeine, or if your workouts leave you more depleted than strong, the issue isn't that you haven't created enough of a deficit to lose weight. It's that your body doesn't feel safe enough to release. And when cortisol stays elevated, thyroid conversion slows. When sleep is light, insulin sensitivity shifts. It becomes more resistant. When the nervous system stays on alert, the body prioritizes stability over fat loss. So the shift becomes this. You address stress before you create a deficit. You support hormones before you manipulate calories. You rebuild metabolic safety so the body feels secure enough to release. And that might look like protein earlier in the day instead of longer fasts. It might look like strength training instead of more cardio. It might look like shortening your fasting window to match the season that you're in instead of extending them because they worked for you at 28. We need to create more consistency your body can rely on, less bouncing between extremes. And when that foundation changes, results often start to move again. And this is when we can see the beaker start to drain. And I'll tell you something personal. When I first started experiencing this shift in my own body, I was around 37, okay? And I did not recognize it at the time for what it was, okay? A lot of this is in hindsight. What I knew was that I coached figure, bikini, and physique athletes at the time. I understood discipline. Like I knew how to manipulate food and training. So when things stopped responding the way that they used to for me, my instinct was, to tighten up even more, add more to my workouts, train harder, dial in my food more precisely. I was definitely pushing through the exhaustion, but it wasn't working anymore. And honestly, I felt embarrassed about it. Here I am, a coach who has put athletes on stage at sub 6% body fat. I mean, heck, I had stepped on stage at sub 6% body fat myself. And all of a sudden, I couldn't stop the scale from slowly creeping up. But what I didn't understand then was how much my body was juggling behind the scenes. My sleep was not consistent. My stress was not only layered, but it was constant. I was running 2 brick and mortar supplement stores. I was training 3 hours a day for CrossFit competitions. I was preparing for marathons. I was coaching my competition team, traveling to competitions across the country. Like, it all added up. And what I know now that I did not know then is that my DNA shows that I require a lot of recovery, more than the average person. And at that time, I was not getting the recovery. Like, it wasn't a part of my focus. And now some women might say like, oh, I did all of that and I was fine. And I would say, I love that for you. But our DNA is not the same. Like, our stress tolerance is not the same. Our recovery needs are not the same. And this is the truth for so many women that I work with. So I was applying strategies built for peak performance to a body that was entering midlife and that needed more recovery. I was looking at calories and cardio when what I actually needed to look at was sleep, stress, recovery, and how my hormones were actually responding to all of it. And once I finally understood that this wasn't about trying harder, I allowed myself to stop fighting my body and to start working with it. And that's when everything changed. And this is exactly what I'm walking you through inside of my upcoming masterclass on Thursday, March 5th. We are going to unpack why your body stopped responding after 35, not from a willpower perspective, but from a physiology perspective. I'm going to show you what's actually shifting underneath the surface, how stress load, hormone context, sleep, and recovery change the way that your body interprets food and training. We're going to talk about why longer fasts and more cardio often stall our progress in this season and what you should be doing instead. You're going to understand the order of operations. So what to stabilize first, what to adjust after that, and how to know whether your body is in a place where it will actually respond. Because the goal here is not more effort. It is creating an internal environment that your body can work with again. So if you've been doing everything right and it just still feels harder than it used to, if the scale isn't responding the way it once did, or if you're tired of bouncing between tightening up and burning out, this masterclass is going to give you clarity. It's free, it's practical, and it will change the way you look at your body in this season. And you can reserve your spot through the link in my show notes. I would love to have you there. Now, before we close, I do want to leave you with something. Scripture tells us in Ecclesiastes that there is a time for everything, a season for every activity under heaven. Your 20s were a season. Your 30s and your 40s and beyond are a season. And wisdom isn't pretending that they're all the same. Okay, wisdom is recognizing the season you're in and responding accordingly. God designed the body with rhythms, with cycles, with limits, with recovery built into it. And honoring those rhythms is not a weakness. It is alignment. So if you've been trying to recreate results from 10 years ago, 10 plus years ago, and wondering why it feels harder, this masterclass is for you. So head to my show notes, click the link, it's free, and I'll see you there, sister. That's it for today on the Nourish to Thrive podcast. If you found value here, I'd love for you to subscribe, leave a review, or send it to someone who's walking a similar path. Keep showing up, keep asking questions, and know that healing is possible, especially when you trust the one who designed your body to heal. Until next time, stay rooted in truth and nourished in grace.